Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2021 Business Planning Clinic with your host, Joey Sacavitch. And I'll be tagging along too. It's Ed Marill.
I'm still dealing with 2020.
Right? I'm so excited to even say 2021. 2021. Doesn't that just have a beautiful ring to it? After you've been through 2020.
I'll let you know, and let you know at the end of it.
Yeah, really. After 2020, though, the bar is not set very high. It's a pretty low bar to have to clear for us to have a brilliant 2021.
Agreed.
Okay, so let's start. So welcome, everybody. Welcome. And I'm sure we'll have a few people more drifting in as we go. A few housekeeping things. So you guys hopefully have received the training material, the material that we'll be using today. There is a very long manual that's like 150 pages, roughly, something like that, some long thing. Don't worry about that. I mean, you can certainly follow along with that. But what is important is there is a 26 page, it's called like the short guide or the short plan. That's what you're gonna be using the most today and tomorrow. I highly recommend printing it out. And my recommendation is to use a pencil, not a pen. I would use a pencil. So one of the first things we'll talk about is this is going to be a living, breathing document that you will probably be using. If used correctly, it's not like some static document that you do and you're done and you're like, well, did that. I'll see you guys a year from now. This is a tool for you guys to use throughout the year. This is something that is a living, breathing document. You may need to make some alterations to it throughout the year. And what's wonderful about the Business Planning Clinic is that you should walk away from here at the end of tomorrow with a complete business plan. That 26 page printout should be your business plan for 2021. So please go ahead and print that out. A couple other things. This course is designed to be taught in either one day for 6 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Due to COVID, we are teaching it virtually, as you probably guessed by now. So we're doing it in two-hour sessions. We believe we can compress the material from 6 hours to 4 hours, but this is our first time doing it. So we're rolling along. Please bear with us. We may get to the end of tomorrow and be like, oh my God, we need another 2 hours. That could happen. And I just want to let you know, we're not going to run long today. We're going to cut it at pretty much 1 o'clock. We might run another 5 minutes or something, but we'll be pretty tight because I want to respect that you guys made this commitment. If we don't complete tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and I'm hoping that we can, we're going to try to compress, but if we don't, then we may have to schedule a third day and we'll run it by you guys and we'll figure that all out. We are recording all of these. So if you miss tomorrow, if you miss today, please get the word out there that you don't need to be present in person. Let's see. So today's, again, we're going to do 2 hours today, 2 hours tomorrow. We'll take a quick little 5-minute, 10-minute break halfway through. And then other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Joey, did you have anything you want to add on to that about just?
No. I think you laid it out beautifully. Let's get in and get started, and we will do our best. Did you want to talk about the questions and such like that? We're going to try and corral the questions into neat little packages, hopefully.
Yeah, great point. So part of expediting is Joey and I are going to try very, very hard to minimize our fun explorations into tangents and stories and all that kind of good stuff. We'll include some of it to be fun, but we'll try to keep it brief. And then as far as questions, there's going to be time for, the whole thing is very much participation. So you should walk away with your own business plan, not with a generic one. It should be yours. So as a result, there's going to be a lot of time when you're going to be filling in your numbers, stuff like that. There's going to be times for questions, but we are going to ask that in general, like we're going to try to muscle through material when we muscle through. And then when there's time for questions, we'll open it up for questions and stuff. And we'll try to not have a lot of interruptions during the times when we're muscling through. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers and that you're going to want to have for yourself, your own goals, and then we're also going to be exploring different ways for you to reach your goals. If you don't have the answers the absolute answer. Don't get hung up on finding the definitive answer today. It could be, hopefully this conversation spurs some thought, is thought provoking. And so give yourself some space. Just engage at the highest level as you possibly can. Use the best number that you have today. Use the best understanding of the activities that you're willing to do today. All right, we can manipulate that a little bit, but the idea is that I don't want you to get stifled in creating a plan by not having like the absolute definitive answer to your either activities or your expectations.
To segue right off of that too, what I was going to say too is that there was a one pager that came along in that packet that was some things you may want to do in planning for this. If you did that, wonderful. It's going to make your experience today all that much better. If you didn't already do it, don't worry about it. Don't start working on that now. Just take your best guess as we go through the things. And like I said, I would recommend using pencil so that later on when you go find your answer to that question, you can go back and adjust as necessary. If you didn't already do the one pager, after today's class, I do recommend still going ahead and doing that in preparation for tomorrow, because we're going to be using even more of those numbers for tomorrow. All right, so with that, we've kind of set the stage. Let me start jumping in here. One of the greatest quotes that I heard in the last 12 months was from Gary Keller. It was on some coaching call last year, and he was talking to a bunch of us productivity coaches. And he said, and I love this quote, it takes a little bit to wrap your brain around it. But he said, the purpose of the business plan is not to achieve the goal of the plan. The purpose of why we do a business plan is the reason why we create the goal and we create these things is to inform the process, to inform the plan of how we get there, right? We come up with these big goals, not because, we say we want to, if we want to do a $500,000 in GCI next year, we don't say that because that's going to help, that's going to make us get there. The purpose of that is that's going to inform the plan of how it is you get from where you're at right now to there. And then we follow that. And his follow-up to that was like, you have this plan, it's a roadmap. January comes along, anything can happen. It can throw you off. And next thing you know, you have to, improvise as you go. But the plan is think of it as you're going on a hike, and your plan is your guide to the trail you're going to take, and which trails you're going to take, what forks in the road to take, all those kind of things. But then again, life happens and we may need to adjust. Who knows? A great pandemic could hit next year. Oh wait, that already happened, right? But yeah, something like that, like this year, perfect example, right? All right. Absolutely. All righty. Okay, so we are going to start. So this is kind of what we're going to be covering here for the next couple of days. And again, bear with us. We're trying to compress. I think we can do it, but we'll see as we go. Getting started, we've already tackled that. We're going to talk models and mindset, the economic model, the lead generation model, the budget model, the organizational model, and pulling it all together.
Yeah, this is, these are business principles we're learning today, right? That can be applied to every business. The MREA was written in, what was it, 1988, something like that, Ed?
Like that, yeah.
The principles in the book are exactly the same. It's some of the details, sure, may have maybe a little different, but the principles are exactly the same.
I love that.
Right.
All right, so getting started, let's jump in here. Understand the power of the 5 fundamental models. We're going to create a business plan. We execute your plan. We talked about that. Section 2, oops, hold on, let's go back because there's something before we hop in here. In your printable guide there, you have something that says where I am today. And I thought that'd be a fun one to do as a poll. So let's do this. So if you guys could take a little vote there, you guys should have a little poll that just popped up. Let's start by seeing where everybody's at.
some little type
Oh, does it look small to you? That's funny.
for me. All right. You want to end now?
Give it another 5 or 10 seconds here. All right, and so if I figure out how to close this out here.
I will.
Boom, there you go. So most of us are either, I create and use a business plan as a daily, monthly, annual, and long-term guide to run my business. I love that answer. That's what we're striving for sure. And then also tied with, I have created a business plan and intend to learn to understand and use it more effectively. Great. That's a great answer as well. I'm fairly new to real estate, so welcome for those of you guys. I don't know why the rest of this question didn't print out, but there you go. And we have a couple people who are new on a team or new to business planning in general.
Excellent.
All right, so let's, hold on. Okay, close this out. Enough of that. Enough fun with polls. On that page as well, let's start. This is one we're gonna start here by taking a few minutes and plotting out your numbers, right? You may not know the answer to these. While you're figuring that out, Joey and I will come up with some estimates for you if you don't know what your numbers are. If you do know your numbers, please go ahead and fill that out on that Where I Am Today page.
I would say if you're new to real estate and you would like to plant a flag in it somewhere, I say I'm gonna give you a through goal. Okay, and a through goal means that it goes beyond what you may expect in your first year of real estate. And I'm just going to base it on you capping. Okay, so that's about $120,000 in gross commission income. All right, and based on 70-30 split, and it's about $4 million worth of production, 4.5 million. So yeah, let's make it about $120,000 if you're looking for a number. Okay.
That's great. My business expenses annually. If you know what your business expenses are, great. Go ahead and fill that in. If you don't, we'll talk about that because in this, they have a 40-30-30 model, and we'll talk about that. In LA, we tend to veer away from that a bit. You will probably not have 30% of cost of sales, and honestly, you probably won't even have 30% operating expenses either. If that sounds great to you, don't worry about it. We'll get to it. No worries. Number of listing appointments gone on last year. If you've been tracking your numbers, if you're in coaching, you should probably know that. However, if not, just take a guess. How many listing appointments did you go on last year? Number of buyer appointments.
For newer agents without historical performance, you're probably looking at 70% buyers, 30% sellers, just as a starting point for the conversation, right? Mm-hmm. You have to start somewhere.
And then numbers of listings sold last year, number of buyers, just fill that in as best you can. Number of names in my database. I love that. I love that we're going to use that. So let's say if you're new and you don't know, if you know how many people you have in command right now, perfect. That's brilliant. Write that down. If you don't, you can, don't do it right now, but after today, before tomorrow, you can go check that out. Another great one is just look on your phone. How many go to contacts on your iPhone, scroll all the way down to the bottom below Z, and it will tell you how many contacts you have in your phone. That's one way of doing it. Beyond that, I won't, we won't get too detailed about that. And lastly, my team consists of you and who? Do you have any leverage pieces in place? Do you have an assistant? Of course. Do you have a buyer's agent? Of course, those things go there. But even too, like I consistently use a transaction coordinator, i.e. Raha. I have some help with, marketing help. I have a virtual assistant. There's some ways that we'll talk about where you can get leverage without needing to hire someone as an employee. All right. You're going to be introduced today to how you can take command of your business and business plan with command. We'll talk a little about that. You're going to complete the 3 learning goals on the following page. We're going to learn about your audience. Okay. All right, so let's go here.
Are we on, are we on page 1-3?
Correct. Yes.
Right.
Wait, we're still here. Okay, so we talked about that. Perhaps on page 1-3, take a moment, take the next 30 seconds or so, and just write down 3 things I want to understand by the end of this training tomorrow afternoon. And then below that on question 3, I love this, how I will make it happen. So maybe you just want to complete a business plan and that's your goal. Level 2, you want to take it a step further, complete a business plan and commit to following your written plan. Level 3, and you know I love this one because it's complete a business plan, share it with your coach. Definitely should share it with your coach or a peer partner who is committed to your personal growth. And execute your plan by checking my activities and results against it weekly, monthly, and annually, right?
Sharing brings it to life, for sure. Especially sharing it with someone who, I had a coach for 7 years, and she knew just how to work me, right? Every week she would get on the phone and she would ask me, about what the work I completed the last week in my plan, and I would tell her, and I would literally do that work just to get her acknowledgement, because she acknowledged me Joey, you're the best. You're so easy to coach. And I, like a puppy dog, would perform for her on the weekly, just based on just wanting her acceptance, right? Sharing my goals with her was mandatory. I was paying for it, but that sharing and that accountability kept me on track to achieving my goals. I've never been more productive than when I was coaching with Cherie.
Wonderful. Anybody else want to comment on your 3 learning goals from 1-3? What do you want to get out of this? Just open it up here for a minute and see if anybody wants to share.
There are no wrong answers to this, guys.
Well, I definitely want to know how many buying and selling appointments Tracy and I need to have to get to the goal that we set for 2021. That's one of them.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about, that's one of the first things we're going to get to today. So that's a great great segue into what we're going to be talking here shortly. Anyone else want to share things that you want to get out of this business planning course and whatnot? All right, cool. We'll bring it right back. Okay, so let me go here, share. All right, so, oops, hold on. There we go. Models and mindset. There we go. Now we're talking. Okay. So how many of you guys may have seen this before? You may remember this from the MREA book. Oh gosh, they got me talking for a little bit here. The models of MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, the red book for those of you who are brand new, is the result of the latest research from interviewing hundreds of highly successful real estate agents across brands and locations. These models are proven to contribute to their success. The first habit of self-discipline is to pursue models of excellence in all areas of your life that are truly important to you. Models of excellence are found in the practices of top performers. Following models build habits, and habits make predictable results with less effort and through great models provide shortcuts to great thinking. What is a model? A model is a pattern of something to be made, an example for imitation, serving as or capable of serving as a pattern to be imitated. Models are strategic actions based upon someone else's actions that got the desired results you want. If you want results like someone else, then just start by following their model. Do what they do and begin with models.
You guys,
what
this is not, right? This has been done many times before. And that doesn't mean that it lacks creativity or originality. It's that the structure, the framework of what it takes to be successful in business is constant. And you bring your own special powers to it, right? But the model, understanding the model is imperative to moving past. The metaphor that I use, just, I'll go on a little bit, is, I went to art school. The first year was all fundamentals. In drawing class, we learned chiaroscuro and shape and form and perspective and the technical aspects of perception, right? I use Frank Stella. He went through the not Frank Stella, Jackson Pollock. Jackson Pollock, we look at these splash drawings and we're thinking, oh, I could do that. But Jackson Pollock had the formal training and understood the framework and the basics of art and perception and drawing and painting before he got to that place. There's plenty of room for creativity, but on top of the models, on top of the framework, on top of understanding the basis of it, and through that comes a higher understanding and a higher performance on what the result is, right? And I think that's what this creativity model, and this is what always speaks to me. I think of Jackson Pollock because, people who want to put creativity first, right? They just like, oh, I can go out there and buy a canvas and get some paint and splash it and splash it and splash it and splash some more, and I can get the same result. Well, you can get a result. It's not the same. I would argue it's not the same result, right?
Yeah. Well said. It adds here, it says reinventing the wheel is exhausting and it leads to breakdowns and burnouts. Implement proven models before innovated. So this on the left is a stable, you start with models, you start with how it's been done. And then over time, you'll hit a point where you want to be creative and you add to it and you start veering off and giving it your own flavor. But if you start by just saying, I'm going to ignore everybody who's ever done everything before me, and I'm just going to do it in my own unique way and head off in my own unique direction, you will probably have an unstable model like the one on the right, because you haven't learned the fundamentals and you're not building upon the shoulders of giants. You're just taking it upon yourself and going off on a whole new direction.
And guys, it doesn't mean that you need to not do business while you're learning the fundamentals. It means that you need to be doing business in a fundamental way before you start getting creative. Okay? And that goes for new agents, producing agents, top producing agents, right?
Love that. Let's talk about breaking through natural ceilings of achievement.
My favorite.
So a lot of you guys, we come in, some more than others. Some people are good at certain parts of this business. Some people are naturally good at other parts of this business. Some of you guys may be beautiful creating marketing pieces on social media. Some of you guys may be naturally gifted at communicating with language with other people. We all have our gifts, right? You come into this business, your gifts, whatever they are going to take you so far. Everybody's going to have a natural, this first dotted line here. Can you guys see my pointer?
Mm-hmm.
This is a representative of, this is how far your natural achievement is going to take you. And we all have that. Some may be different in certain aspects of it, right? Everyone encounters ceilings. This is where creativity added to proven models helps break through to new levels. So, hold on. Models provide two things: business stability and breakthrough strategy. This breakthrough model is what we refer to as E to P, going from entrepreneurial to purposeful model, one of KW's 6 personal perspectives. E to P cannot be achieved by sheer will. It takes accountability, which we'll get into later in the course.
Yeah, you're taking your natural abilities, you're applying them to your business. It'll take you to a certain level and me to maybe one less than you, but at some point you're hitting the ceiling of productivity. And at that point, you need to be purposeful, entrepreneurial, to purposeful. You're purposeful of taking in more information, of learning something. So it's education, a new technology, a new system. You're looking at your business and you're seeing what it takes to get to the next level. You're leveraging people. You're being purposeful of breaking through that ceiling of production and moving on to the next level, and where that ceiling now becomes the floor, and you grow. And people who are constantly growing will constantly be hitting ceilings. Okay. And let me tell you, guess what happens at those points? Discomfort. There's discomfort in growth. There's discomfort in breaking through. There's discomfort in taking your business to the next level. Okay, just so you know, it's not like it's not plowing through powder the whole way down. You're going to hit some challenges, and that's the whole idea. And sometimes that discomfort is in fact is an indication that you need to bring in leverage, systems, education, that you're at a breaking point, right? Not a breaking point, but at a stall, right? Breaking point's the other direction. And the other thing is, when you hit that, when you start to enact those, well, I could talk about this one slide forever. When you start to enact those new models and it slows your business down a little bit too, right? Because you're bringing in maybe an assistant, you're using a new system, so you're going to see a little dip before you hit that hockey stick up. But you will hit a hockey stick up if you're doing it right.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, notice on each time this diagram, it hits a ceiling. Note that in order to break through, it took a step backwards for them to take two steps forward, a step backwards for them to take two steps forward, and a step backwards to and that's how it is, because you'll hit a ceiling, you'll need to implement something new, and there's a cost for that, which is why a lot of people don't do it, because they don't want that cost. They're cruising along here, and they're like, if I hire an assistant, I'm gonna have to take a step backwards. I'm gonna have to train them. I'm gonna have to fund that. And it's not going to add to my value for a little bit, right? There's going to be a cost, and at first, it's a step backwards before you take two steps forward. And like Joey, we'll be here all day if we keep going. Who wants to do a little reading? Any volunteers? Let me see. Can I see a hand? Hey, Clint, you want to read these 9? Think Like a Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Yes, I do. Okay, number 1. Think powered by a big why. Number 2, think big goals and big models. Number 3, think value in customer service and experience. Number 4, think competitively and strategically. Number 5, think action and accountability. Number 6, think talent, systems, and standards. Number 7, think knowledge and skills. Number 8, think persistence and resilience. And number 9, think profit.
Well said.
You see, profit's the last thing. And why is the profit the last thing? Because profit is the lagging indicator of your success. Okay? The success comes in the front end, in the activities, right? The profit comes after you execute on your plan.
Awesome. Okay, what do we got here? Think like a millionaire real estate agent. Think powered by a big why. We're gonna do a little big why exercise here in a minute. Think big goals and big models. We're gonna set your 1-year net income goal based on your someday goal, and think action and accountability. Set up your system for accountability. Did I pass it here? No, we're good. Okay, good. We're good in there. All right. Oh my God. You guys, anybody knows me, you guys know how much I love 411s. Here's a very simple 411 action goal worksheet, right? It's a fundamental tool that we talk about a lot in KW. We take a goal that's for your year, and we're going to break it down by month, and then, so every month you create a new one of these. You talk about your year based on trying to get to this year goal. what is the goal you should do for this month? So if you have your 2020 goal, you maybe want to achieve something. When you get to the start of November, you'll create a new one. You'll say, okay, my goal was to hit $200,000 of profit this year. Where am I at now? Based on that, here's what my goals should be for the month of November. And then based on that, now that I know what my goal for the month of November is, here's my goals for week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. This is such a valuable tool, and especially when you're using it in conjunction with whether it's a peer partner who you guys keep each other accountable, or a coach like me, or just somebody. It's such a great thing to be checking in with someone, have goals, check in. It's such a great feedback loop, and will help you achieve a lot more.
Hey, Ed, I think we're missing a couple slides or something. For some reason,
Let's see here.
My upgraded, no. It's after, well, there was myths and mindset.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about, Jay. I just don't think that they're in the slide, because then you start getting into.
I think this is maybe an older slide presentation.
Well, I literally just downloaded it this morning from
Okay.
So the slide deck is fine. It's just that they just don't include. I know I'm following with you, Joey, and they just don't include it in the slideshow. But we're gonna, again, hopefully you guys have the 26 page printed out, because a lot of the stuff is in there, and we're gonna be referring to it. Okay, do you guys have page 2.3 where it talks about myths and mindsets about models?
All right.
Let's stop sharing here for a minute from the PowerPoint.
Why don't I?
Everybody have? So again, a mindset is a person's way of thinking and set of opinions. Joe, you want to read those 5 myths?
Yeah. The first one is a person's way of thinking and set of opinions. I don't need models. Okay. You're talking to somebody who entered real estate and didn't even understand really what a model was, and spent 2 years just kind of floundering through the process. There is a way that things have been done. There is a framework of how this business, successful people in this business have done business over the years. It's just a framework, guys, and the framework works, okay? You use models now. They're how you get things done. When results matter, you don't want models to limit you, but you want proven models to grow with you, okay? This is the base. These models are the base to which you build your business, right? Models limit my freedom. Models set you free because you can make better decisions more quickly and have a better life as a result. Having the structure and framework of a successful business allows you to be creative, allows you to implement more creativity and express yourself fully, because you have a business built on a solid base of models. Models are just opinions. Models based on the success of others and that are implemented properly deliver predictable outcomes that are proven, not opinion. Okay, these models are built on statistical information. All right. The model won't work for me. A model will work for you if you follow it because it has predictable results. Yes, if I talk to this many people, I will get an appointment. If I have this many appointments, it will lead to a contract. If I do this, if I enter into this many contracts, I will have this many closings. If I have this many closings, it'll lead to this much profit. It's linear. Yes, in the beginning, you might have to talk to more people. You're working out your mastery of the conversations and problem solvings and the services you offer in the way that you offer them, right? Finding your people takes time. Finding the conversation takes practice, right? So, and so this is part of the model. It doesn't mean the model doesn't work. It means that you are working out, you're building your muscle using the model, okay? The model, I don't need to change. I'm getting the results I want. That's great. But guess what? Over time, the historical information will show you that if you do not have the right structure inside your business, it's not sustainable. Okay, this is about building a sustainable business that will feed you business over time. And doing the activities and having these systems in place are the way to get there.
Great. So now we've talked about the myths to overcome and avoid. You know that how you do think about your business matters. Just as important as removing limiting beliefs and doubt from the mind, in order to be highly successful, it's important to think like successful people. We're gonna go deeper into the 3 mindsets on the following pages. There are 3 foundational mindsets that all top agents have. Think powered by a big why. Think big goals and big models. And think value and customer service and experience. This last one is new to MREA and comes from the latest studies of highly successful agents. So, they're always updating MREA. Well, we don't need to go there. The remaining 6 mindsets are supportive to the first 3 and are all important. Today, we're going to dig into numbers 1, 2, and 5 since they all reflect mindset and what we'll cover in this course. Later, when we explore the economic model, we will really get focused on number 9, which is think profit. So we are, these are all, whoops, one second here. These are all
we're going to start
page
one with the big
2.5. Yeah,
why.
this is what Clint was talking. This is the ones Clint read out earlier. So the first 3 are those fundamental foundational models or mindsets, I should say. The first millionaire mindset, the concept of big why, and we're going to spend some time here working on this, about having or identifying a purpose, mission, or need that motivates you to get up every day and do what you do.
Read it one more time, because that's at the core of the big why, right? That's really what it is.
The concept of big why is about having or identifying a purpose, mission, or need that motivates you to get up every day and do what you do. And let's face it, if you do this job really well, it is quite monotonous. There is an aspect to this business that is very repetitive. If you're a top producer, as you start to narrow down and focus on your 20%, which is great, that's a great habit and a great focusing thing to be doing, is to focus on the 20% that is important to your business, you will find that you're going to spend a lot of time working on those 20%, which means a lot of care calls or whatever your business, how it's developed, you're going to spend a lot of time doing that. And it can get very monotonous. And this industry can lead to a lot of people burning out. Well, there's other things we can do to mitigate that, but that is, I'm sure everybody on this call, especially in COVID times this year, has probably experienced some days when you were like, I don't feel like making a care call this morning. Like, where's my care call? Who's calling me? Like,
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it can be really tough. And the care calls, we're pouring ourselves out day after day after day. When do we get to refill our tank? Right. And so a big why is part of what helps us get through that. It reminds us of why, okay, I've got to make 10 care calls today, but step back for a minute. Why is that important? Why is that important to me? Why is that important to my family? What's the bigger reason, right?
Yep.
I
would argue that, the biggest rock star who's touring 250 nights, 250 days a week, throughout the 365-day years is having the same experience, right? He's dialing it in. They are bored by the repetition, right?
I remember when I was a new agent,
it happens in everyone, every business. I'm sorry.
Joey, they're asking us to share examples of our personal big why. It's funny, when I was brand new, my big why was real easy because, Rebecca and I let's move to Charleston and we're going to start a real estate business and, it's going to be so much fun. And we thought we knew what we were doing and realized we knew nothing. And very quickly we, fast forward a year and a half and we had 2 infants at home and Rebecca couldn't, they were complicated children. So Rebecca couldn't work. And I mean, all of a sudden we had 4 mouths on one commission income, and we thought we had a bunch of savings, and we blew through that. And man, I will tell you, that's a big why right there. Like that's easy. That's easy to figure out. But over the years, I will tell you, it's changed and grown. And it's funny that the subtitle to the MRA book is, it's not about the money, it's about being the best you can be, which Gary himself will admit is a very corny title. But the truth is that I relate to that. Like, as the years go on, it's not really about the, I mean, yeah, sure, it's about the money, but it's not really what gets me going every day. It's just,
The money's a result.
yeah, I just want to see, like, how good can I get? You know, how many people can I help? How big can I grow my life? Like, you know, those are fun things.
That big why is not an end point. You're right. It can be. You can say, hey, my big why for this year is I want to get a Ferrari or a trip to Italy or a new home or a pool, or it can be that if that's what is your purpose and your mission for the year and what's going to motivate you on the daily. Knock yourself out. Like, mine started with my kids too, but then I had to really look over time. I started to really look at myself and really what my core purpose was, right? And what really motivates me and fills me back up on the daily. And being a part of other people's success was really the bottom line on it. It really made me feel good, right? Kept me coming back for more. Kept me waking up, getting dressed, going into the office, and doing the same thing every day, right? For that one time when someone says, thank you very much, right? That was a really great, you were really helpful in my personal development. Boom, there's the payoff. There's my goal. There's my purpose.
I'll tell you something else just really quickly because it came to mind. So when we moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, we had to kind of do it in a bit of a hurry because, long story, my daughter had some health issues. And so I had to restart my business from scratch. And I was kind of resentful about it because I had just busted my ass and like was the rock star. Like, I was the one who was like the shining star. Like, I had achieved in 3 years. I was like, I went from nothing to like everyone feeling sorry for me, of like, oh my God, poor Ed, I think he's going to go broke. So all of a sudden I was like, one of the top 5%. People were coming, and all of a sudden I had to start over again. I had a chip on my shoulder. It was hard. And 2017, I made 7,500 contacts. Or it's a lot. If you do the math, that's a lot of contacts. And I started getting burnt out, and I was just like, I don't even like this anymore. I just kind of was like, I don't even want to go to work. And that's when I started getting into coaching. It just fell into my lap, and it just like reinvented me. And I was like, oh my God, this is fun. And that's, you may find you need some of that too. Figure out what your big why this year may not be your big why last year, is what I'm getting at. We always need to be kind of finding out what's motivating us, and it may change over time. All right, enough of me talking.
Big is the theme, Ed. Big why equals a big, powers a big life.
All right, we'll read a couple of these things. People have many whys. That is reasons that drive them, and a lot of little whys add up to a big why. Think about your whys and isolate. So that there's an exercise here. Think about your big whys and isolate the biggest one. A reminder to think big. Good and good enough is not enough. Doing your best and being your best is what makes up your big why. And it's not necessarily about a dollar sign. We're not saying you must have $1 billion goal. Your goal may be like, hey, I want to work 20 hours a week and make enough money so I can have time with my family. That is a very legitimate big why. It may be, you know what? I want to work 60 hours. Like, I want to work 50 hours a week. I want to work a ton, somewhat manageable, but I want to work really hard. But then I want to take 3 months off every year because I want to go touring and I love traveling, whatever. Great. We have no vested stake on what your number is or what. You just got to figure out, what do you want your business to look like and what's your big why? Okay.
Right.
Big why, we talked about that. So big whys are different.
Big whys down.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing that on page 27. We're going to think about, what is your big why? I'd love for you guys to start writing that stuff down as I just wrap up here with a couple last points they say.
Don't overthink it, guys. It
Big
can
whys are
change over
different for each of
time.
us and at different times in our lives. So even though the MRE says think big, choose that why that motivates you right now.
We want to tap into your fuel source, right? What's going to get that train going?
Some of it can be truly altruistic. Maybe there's a charitable cause that you believe in and you want to contribute to that. That's a noble cause. Maybe it's cash and prizes. Maybe you want to buy a convertible 911 and go driving all around Angeles Crest Highway every weekend. Totally, whatever is going to motivate you, that's all good. Maybe you want to put kids through school. Maybe you want to buy a house. Maybe
Write
you
it
want to
down
buy.
while we're talking too, right? This is the time you should be writing it down as you're listening.
Yes. Again, please be writing. I'm just throwing ideas at you as you're writing. In fact, we'll give you some space here.
You want me to start on the other side there? Second one.
There's on page 28, Joey, there's a bunch of for us to read through there.
That's what I say. You want me to start reading there?
Let's see. First, let's see if anybody wants to share.
Oh, sure.
If we have a few people who want to share what their big why is. It's not a requirement.
Some of their big whys are, right? The encouragement was to write down all that you think are your big why right now. But anybody want to share one that they were surprised they found or not surprised?
Well, I've got big tuition bills, so that's a big why for me, is to help my girls pay off their school debt.
Mm-hmm. Respectable purpose for sure. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, it's not a car.
Oh no, it's motivating.
I
Anyone
want
else
some
would
more
like to share?
investment.
Go ahead.
It's also one of
I want some more investment properties in a particular city too.
Excellent.
Amal, you had your hand raised. What were you going to say, Amal?
I said this is one of my big whys too, to help my kids pay their student loans.
Excellent. That's great. All right, let's start on with the next millionaire mindset. The second millionaire mindset: think big goals and big models. Most great achievements in life are the result of thinking big and aiming high. Small goals tend to place limits on our potential, and we tend to slow down once our goals are within reach. Small goals, by definition, are almost always within our reach. So we end up achieving them quickly, but we never get the chance to build up a head of steam. When we pursue larger, ambitious goals or big goals, we have the chance to build up so much momentum that it carries us right past those small goals. They used to do this exercise in Bold years ago. It's like, okay, what is it you want to, what is your goal for next year? And somebody say, oh, 200,000, right? And the first thing out of their mouth is, okay, add a zero, okay? Because the point was that they were trying to have you look larger and to build and also to see the real power in these models that we're teaching, how scalable they are. So if it's, to get that $200,000, I need to talk to 5 people a day on my, with my plan. If we're adding a zero, to $2 million, That's, what is that, 10 times 200,000, right? So it's a 10 times goal, right? So now you have to talk to 50 people a day, right? And you start to look at, what do I need to do to talk to 50 people a day? How many people can I talk to? How many can I automate? How can I create a system to talk to 50 people, knowing that you'll make $2 million, right? I mean, there is a path, and there is a plan for the $2 million just as easily as there is the $200,000. Now, I would start with, hey, so you want to make 200 this year. I would say you want to build a plan for 250 or 300. You want to build a through goal. I am going to shoot past my goal, knowing that if I do the activities and have the machine to support a $300,000 goal, that I'll surely reach my $200 goal, right? So that's the concept. Thinking of big goals that stretch you like a rubber band right up to the breaking point. Tell the example of climbing the big mountain. And I'm going to let you, I know you like the big mountain metaphor story, right?
Sure.
Let's imagine for a moment. Oh, go ahead. This is the whole thing. You want to tell us?
Sure. So let's imagine for a moment you've decided to climb your first mountain. Your goal is to climb Mount Whitney in California, an elevation of 14,500 feet. Your target is, that's your goal, is to climb Mount Whitney. Your target is to climb Mount Everest in Nepal, elevation 29,000 feet. So your goal is 15,000 feet. So you decide, okay, well, I'm going to aim at Mount Everest, which is 29,000 feet. By setting Mount Everest as your target, you ensure that you will know all the systems and skills necessary to pull you easily through your goal to climb Mount Whitney. If you set your path toward climbing Everest and only get halfway up the mountain, you'll still be in the top 0.1% of highest mountaintops in the world. In fact, if you only reached the Everest base camp, elevation 17,500 feet, you would still be 3,000 feet higher than any mountain peak in the United States. You would have achieved your goal of climbing Mount Whitney. Often what happens with goals, most agents set goals too low and achieved goals are too low. Don't set your goals low. Setting big goals and going after them will allow you to build a career worth having, a business worth owning, a life worth living, experiences worth giving, and a legacy worth leaving. A phrase you'll hear throughout KW. The power of goal setting to the now from the one thing. Goal setting to the now allows you to be extremely clear of your priority for right now by working backward into it. Gary says we can be anywhere we desire to be in 5 years. So where do you want to be in 5 years? So we're going to walk through the process of setting a someday goal to a daily goal right now. So this is on page 2.9. So you can start filling this in as we go.
Yeah, I see you just making this, doing less is going to get you less, right? It's really what it comes down to. When we say, hey, the basic, the starting point is talking to 10 people a day, putting 10 contacts in your database, writing 10 notes, and viewing 10 properties a week. That's just the average. Okay, that's the baseline. Okay, so if you're doing 5 or 3 or 2 a day, you're below average. Okay, I'm just saying, and you're going to get a below average result. And if that's okay with you, knock yourself out. But if you're saying something differently, then be honest with yourself. Okay.
So as we go through this exercise on 2.9, start by figure out what is your someday goal. Sky's the limit, right? It's your life. Where do you want to be someday? Whatever the heck someday means, right?
Yeah. Success is sequential.
For example, desiring to net $1 million could be a someday goal that requires big goals for the 5-year mark, the 1-year mark, and even monthly, weekly, and daily goals. Point out that the 1-year goal must be enough to fund your lifestyle, pay your bills, and get out of debt. So, we do need to start there. Whatever your goal for 2021 is, it's got to be enough to fund your lifestyle, pay your bills, get out of debt. So complete the chart on the following page, which is 2.9. with a big someday goal. And do we have any volunteers who want to share what your someday goal is?
Does anybody have a someday goal? Okay. Let me put it this way. I've seen more than one agent achieve $1 million in their someday goal, in their 5-year goal even. Okay. There is a sequence to the success. It takes a lot of work, and some of that work can be monotonous, and some of that growth can be challenging. But guess what? It happens all the time. If that's what you want, you definitely need to access your big why if that's your goal. And you definitely need to have a plan if that's your goal. And you need to have a plan for this year, next year, 3rd year, the 4th year, and the 5th year. That's the way to achieve it. Okay. But it's not magic. Okay. This is how it's achieved, what we're doing here.
I know. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
Terry.
Terry.
Oh, okay. I know my goal right now is to do 2 million in sales each month or every 6 weeks. And that's something I'm really working on as I'm sitting here listening to the business plan here.
Yeah. So you're looking to do $24 million worth of sales. It's about $800,000, $800,000 worth of gross commission income, if I'm correct. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. There's a path for that.
Yeah. And Maury, how about you? You got your hand up for someday goals?
Well, someday 5 to 10 million, and live in New York and LA. And my 5-year goal is to net $1 million.
I love it. Anybody else? I thought we had one more hand up. Okay, cool. We'll move on. Joe, you want to read this one on page 2.10 in our book there?
Explain the 5th millionaire mindset, because it is essential to success.
And Joe, we'll just let's just bullet point that one and go through it pretty quick, because then we want to take a break and move on.
Where do you want me to start at?
2.10, right where you're at, the 5th million.
Okay, all right. After setting goals, it's time to execute your plan, right? And with action with accountability. Since taking action requires maintaining focus on the goal, how good are you at maintaining your focus, especially over time? Right? Prolonged focus on the same issues can feel like routine, and routine can lead to boredom. When boredom sets in, attention drifts. And when your attention drifts, the craving for novelty creeps in, and doing something new starts to appear more and more appealing. It's the 15-year-old boy in me, right? Acknowledging the limits of your ability to focus is important, because it allows you then to choose carefully what you need to focus on, and then find ways to help you maintain that focus at a high level over time. One of the best ways to do that is to bring some accountability into your business. So, the statistics about goals, accountability, and achievement, right? We're reviewing them, and it's like the most productive time in my business life was when I had a coach, right? And that coach kept me on the rails, right? You spend all this energy getting that machine going, and then, it isn't self-propelled after that. You have to keep feeding it. You stoke the fire, you keep that machine moving forward, and on the tracks and in the direction towards the goal that you wanted to get. And accountability is that support system that keeps you on the straightest path to your goal. This is where accountability comes in. Accountability is an empowering process for continuous focus and refocus. Accountability picks up where time blocking leaves off. And you get the best accountability through a relationship that follows a regular refocusing process. Accountability shapes and reshapes your focus. It is a learning loop for seeing what you should be focusing on clearly, and a feedback loop on refocusing when your attention slides. Can you truly hold yourself accountable is the question. And I know I've seen people do it in certain areas of their life, and it's really not accountability as much as it is discipline, right? I've seen people who are incredibly disciplined in parts of their lives, and it looks like accountability, but I would probably look closer, and you would see that they are at a ceiling, right? And which is okay in some places, and if you're okay with that, but they're not growing with self-accountability, that's for sure. If your goal is to grow past where you are today, then accountability is an integral part of that process in keeping you focused and refocusing you on your goal and your purpose.
I love what it says here too. Accountability is about getting and using feedback. You must take time on a regular planned basis to meet with whoever is holding you accountable. Look at your business numbers, refocus your efforts. The more often you go through this process, the better your ability to maintain your focus on the activities that yield the best results. So it's asking you to write down the names. It's on the next page there. You see that accountability loop, and it's asking you to write down the names of who you may ask to help you with accountability. Some of you guys are in coaching, so that would be me, but it's up to you to figure out who's going to hold you accountable as you create and proceed through this, help you achieve what you're creating in this business plan.
If you've ever been part of a successful business, and you are a employee, this accountability feedback loop is going on behind the scenes sometimes. You know, in traditional models, right? What do you got, Lorna? You take yourself off the.
In the short packet, where would we be writing this down? I'm lost where we are. Sorry, guys.
Of who? We're on page 211.
But where is that in the short one?
Oh,
It should look like it's
Not in the short one.
Is it not in there?
the page looks like
No.
this.
But try to-
Oh, okay, I don't have that.
No,
it's
it's not in there. It's only in
All
the
right.
big manual.
Okay,
Just in there somewhere. Yeah, there you go. Josephine's got it. Just in there somewhere, just write down, a couple people, accountability, and just write a couple
Okay.
people that will help you,
I'll
who's gonna
create a
help on the
section.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Individuals with written goals are 42.1% more likely to achieve them. Individuals with accountability on top of the goal are 77.6% more likely to achieve them. Just think about that.
I've heard it said that people who have both written goals and accountability are 82% more likely to achieve them. I believe that's somewhere in the Keller Williams system. Anyways, I believe on the next page, I'm hoping you guys have a sample 4-in-1. I'll just read this really quick and then we'll take a break. The 4-in-1 is an accountability tool. It stands for 4 weeks, 1 month, and 1 year, all on one sheet of paper or online as well. 4-in-1 is a productivity tool that drives your goal setting from the desired end results to the present. So we start with the end goal in mind, we go out to 1 year, and we bring it into the present. It's not a to-do list. It's a have-to-do list. It's designed to help you set both long-range goals, results, and the short-range goals, activities, which bring those results to fruition. It's not designed to be used as a self-managing list. The most successful agents use the 4-in-1 in a consulting relationship to keep them on track. Whether you're consulting with Joey, myself, a peer partner, or you're in a formal coaching relationship, the 4-in-1 can serve as the centerpiece of the accountability focus. What you set in motion today with your 4-in-1 may not translate to results immediately. There are no quick solutions. It takes implementing a system, and results may start showing up in 6 months to a year. This tool will help you stay focused on the goals and activities of your final business plan. There are options for accountability, and you can use more than one, as many top agents do. We build personal 4-in-1s around the models we learn in this course. Well,
Yeah, this is the battle plan, right? It's not the war. You don't win. You win the war by having many successful battles. This is a battle plan. Okay, it's taking your overall plan, going down into the minutia of a particular skirmish, and taking it apart in a methodical way.
So we're gonna wrap it up here for this section. We're gonna take a break here in just a minute. I just want, before we do, because we're about to hop into the 4 models. We're going to talk about the economic models. How many appointments do you need? We're going to talk about the lead generation model. Where are you going to find your leads for next year? The budget model and the organizational model. I will tell you, early on in my career, I kind of glossed over this first part of Big Why. I mean, I was kind of like just kind of snoozing my way through it. And I was like, just wake me up until we get to the good stuff that really matters. And the longer I'm around here, the more I realize that the mindset stuff that we're talking about up to this point is my favorite part. And I know for me, if my mindset is right, sky's the limit. If my mindset is off, whatever we do for the rest of this, and I can come up with whatever beautiful numbers, and I can talk about how I want to achieve $1 billion of GCI or whatever else. If my head is not set firmly on my shoulders and I'm grounded in reality, I have a much less chance of doing it. So I hope you guys have appreciated this first section as much. We talk about those myth understandings. That's something I used to, again, gloss over. And the longer I'm around, I realize those are the things that really limit you the most. It's not about because you didn't know your economic model. I mean, there's that too. But usually if you're having a ceiling or somewhere, more often than not, sure, there's an external thing that's where it's showing up. But oftentimes it is in your mindset where the real problem is occurring. And I've seen that as a coach over the last couple of years. And I know I've experienced as a coaching client. And that was one of the things that surprised me, is when I really started to hit up against walls. It wasn't that, I wasn't using the proper CRM. It wasn't the shiny object with Zillow leads or whatever else. It was usually something in my mindset that was the biggest roadblock. And when I pushed through those, that's when I had the biggest breakthroughs in my business in numbers. It came between my ears. So hopefully you appreciate that as well. Joe, you want to add to that at all? Otherwise, we'll take a break here.
No, take a minute. I put in the business planning clinic workbook. I wouldn't print the long form, but I would absolutely, you could download it and you could go through it side by side while you're taking this class.
All right, so we'll take a break here.
5 minutes.
Say 5 minutes, is that enough?
Sure.
5-minute break.
Put a timer on that.
I think I know how to do that. I'll try to get a timer on here.
And I'll stay on if anybody has any questions or ahas. They want to fill this moment. They're here and they want to chit chat.
And I will tell you, Jody, that the good news is that we are on track, which is wonderful. We're doing great time. The bad news is that we're not cutting that. We're not ahead of schedule. So where'd it go? I had a timer. You guys all see that big timer on your screen?
Yeah.
Is that showing up? Is there a big timer there? All right, we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Oh. Tim with the gals. I love that. What's that?
This is a big freaking book. I realize this is a little like, we're gonna be doing this. It doesn't really coordinate to the big book that I think you got.
This one here.
That's the,
Yeah.
we have this.
Yeah, that's just a worksheet. Yeah, that's, I think it just focuses on work. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Where were you 10 years ago?
It's 10 years ago. Well, 10 years ago I was here, but I understand what you're saying, right? It's
Right, I've never
right.
had this. It's
Yeah.
everything I do
It's
in
business
my life,
principle though.
Yeah.
It's not, you can apply it to any business. You know, you should have your girl or your wife on it, right? I agree. She's welcome to get on.
She's built a multi-million-dollar business and still makes the same amount of money.
Entrepreneur, because she keeps it, that's the only, it's an entrepreneurial, it's E-to-P. For sure. That's what all happens so often. No worries. Mhm. 2 minutes. I love Lorna's photo from, that's from New Orleans. I love it. Although this meal was challenging because the food never came out. It was great to be in New Orleans. Let me get a glass of water real quick. All right, we're almost back. 25 seconds to go, guys. Seven. All right.
All right, we're back. Okay, foundational model of MREA. 1 second here. Where the hell? Wait, where? Okay, there we are. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so we now know the power of models. Let's dig into the models we'll be using in the course. The 3L foundational model from MREA, you guys probably remember this, right? The 3 L's of the millionaire real estate agent are leads, listings, and leverage. In that order. To succeed in real estate, you must have client leads. 2, we focus on seller listings because they are high leverage, maximum earning opportunity in our industry. That is what they mean to say is with the same amount of work, you can potentially double or triple your gross income by working on listings versus working on buyers. Number 3, leverage is about time versus money. Leverage comes from people, systems, and tools. Who's going to do it? How will they do it? And what will they do it with? Together, the 3 L's form the pillars of any successful real estate business. The business plan you're going to create is going to incorporate all 3 L's. A business plan is the importance of having one so it's important to have a business plan for planning purposes, for checking on the health of your business, and for projecting the future of your business. The best advice for any small business is to create a business plan and follow it. Failure to create and follow a detailed plan is a predictor of a failed business. Real estate, as you guys all know, has a very low barrier to entry. That is, the time invested in capital requirement is minimal. Even the fees induced to the market center and local board are comparative to other industries very low. And instantly we all have access to a multi-billion-dollar inventory of product to sell. That is, by the way, that is not true in just about any other sales industry. It is amazing like how quickly you can get started in this business. A detailed business plan and a commitment to follow it with accountability will help you get started as well as help you grow. Ask participants to complete the A business plan, which is what? We have that? All right, hold on a second here. So we're going to complete the A business plan activity, then address their answers and make sure that okay. So you guys should have a page that says a business plan built on models, a business plan will, right? You guys see it there? It's got a bunch of 7 questions with yes or no. Are you guys seeing that?
What page would that be on?
I see
19.
2.19, but here, let me go here. Let me do this.
It's not in the
I could actually read those out to you guys and you can answer them.
It's actually in the big one. I see it.
Yeah, it's in the big one.
All right, sorry about that, guys. You know what? We'll go through there quickly. Just true or false? What do you guys think? Helping me achieve. So a business plan will help. Number 1, help me achieve the money I need for my lifestyle. True or false?
True.
True.
Joe, you want to read some of these?
Yep, I'm in. Tell me how many appointments to attend each week to meet my goal.
True.
Help me control my business expenses.
True. True.
Help me identify when and how I grow my business.
True.
Identify my lead generation strengths and opportunities.
Yep.
True.
Help me determine when to hire help.
True.
True.
Save me time.
Yes. Yep. True.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, next we're talking about the 5 fundamental models. Ooh, wait, what? 5? That's right, 5. They
What
added a
page is that?
model. That's right. There's
20, Larry.
a new one.
No,
So these work in conjunction. They're not separate. They work together in the order they are listed, beginning with the economic model. Economic model determines what's left over for you to achieve the amount of net income you desire. Then you will have the lead generation model. It tells you if you want that net income, you will need to generate X number of leads. Next is the budget model, which tells you where your money goes. So now that you know the number of leads, you need to spend X amount of money in specific areas to support these efforts. You need to make money you need to spend money to make money. Organizational model tells you when and who to hire. So if you're going to next thing after you start spending some money, you're going to need to eventually hire X number of people to service it all. And finally, you can then expand that business to other areas. You can apply your systematized business model in additional locations. That's a new model that's out there. So they're always, changing and growing based on what's happening in the industry. Okay, we're going to start with the economic model. So Jay, in case I'm skipping ahead to 2.24. So we're going to get into more detail later in the chapter, but right now, the economic model is the first of the fundamental models we're going to talk about. Every business is run on an economic model. It's the engine of all businesses. The MREI economic model is the first model and is the foundational model that encapsulates all the other MREA models. It describes how your business works. The economic model can be used in two distinct ways. Number one, it's a statement of where you are today, or two, pro forma, it's a projection of where you want to be in the future, and it becomes a guide for decision-making, incorporating goals and accountability. Gary Keller says, in my mind, the economic model is how money flows in your business, and a pro forma is you picking your profit and showing all the numbers you must hit to make that profit. If you choose your profit in your economic model, then theoretically, at that point, they're the same. Your economic model just became your pro forma. The benefits of the economic model, it reveals how many units you're going to need, how many appointments you'll need, your conversion rates. It's not just about the outcomes. It's going to identify areas for improvement, right? So as you keep track of this, you may realize like, whoa, I am way underperforming compared to people in my market. Why is that? Maybe I need to learn some scripts or some conversions, some different marketing materials to help me convert at a higher rate. It allows for mastery over your business. It keeps you thinking about your business from a profit first perspective, and it helps keep your budget model in line. It provides benchmarks to hold your team accountable, and it allows you to gain insight into your economic decisions before you make them. That's a great part of this, is that you don't, it makes some of the guesswork out of making some of these decisions a lot easier, because you'll know, the numbers will tell you. It looks like a lot of math, and don't let that push you away. Once you've got the math figured out, you'll be on your way to planning for a great business. Okay, so here's an example.
I love the, well, we'll talk about this in a second, but I love the whole idea of making informed economic decisions, okay? And to do that, you need to have a framework of understanding of the economics. This right here, this one sheet right here, gives you a framework of the economics of your business, okay? And all right, so now let's talk about this, you know, some of these assumptions, right? The assumptions nationally are that your net income is 40% of your earnings, operating expenses 30%, and cost of sale is 30%. We, you know, for the sake of this conversation, we're going to stick with that, but there are some realities that are different about our market, and that is that we live in a market that the average sale price is a multiplier of the national average sale price. Saying the national average sale price is about 350, somewhere in that range. You know, our average sale price in this market center is 1.2. If you have historical information in your business, great, we're going to use that. But the point being is that it costs us a lot less, and we make a lot more on each individual deal, based on the fact that the return on each individual deal is much higher than the national average. All right, and if we go with the the 3 times multiplier, then that would lower these costs of sale and operating expenses by 2/3, right? But so
yeah,
just keep that in mind.
Of all the 5 models that we'll be covering, this is the one that needs the most adjustment, because we live in
Absolutely.
a place with
Absolutely.
a tire. And the other side of that coin too is, because you can make because we have $4 million homes like there's no tomorrow, you can make easily over $100,000 in one deal. Because of that, what does that do to how many agents we have per capita? What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's
A ton. We have way more agents per capita in LA versus other places, which means more competition, which means some of the conversion rates are going to be less because there's just a lot more agents. So these all have an effect on the numbers, and we'll guide you through. It's not that big a deal. Just, I love what Joey said when we started off, is that the principles are solid. They don't change from area to area. The conversion rates and some of the percentages and some of the dollar signs do change. And by the way, one little quick disclaimer. People often ask me, like, I have people from the East Coast who are calling me thinking about moving to LA because they're like, oh my God, I can't, like, I'm looking at your prices and it's just insane. It must be so much easier to make money as a realtor in LA versus, and I'm like, not so quick there, Kimosabe, because yeah, sure, the dollar signs are bigger, but the competition is there's just a ton more agents, and it can take a lot longer to get established. And it, ask any agent who's been starting here for a year or two, like, it can be, the first year or two can be a grind. So anyways, we'll address all these things as we go. So now that we've given you the disclaimer, let's look at these numbers from this beautiful national averaged poll, this typical economic model. And again, this is for one size fits all across the US. And then next we're going to go and talk about your economic model, and we will talk about the reality in LA. So in Middletown, USA, if you wanted to net $1 million, meaning your pre-tax income, the profit of your business is $1 million. In Middle America, that means that you would need to have $2.5 million for GCI, because you're going to be spending $750,000 a year on operating expenses. And you will be spending $750,000 on cost of sales. And again, we'll cover this. We'll cover what all these numbers mean and all that kind of good stuff. So that's how much you would need to make. 2.5 GCI.
Think about it, and we're gonna break it down more here. To make $1 million even gross income in an area that the average sale price is $250,000 to $300,000, you have to do 100 deals, right? I mean, it's just well, maybe not 100, but you have to. Well, let's say you have to do 100. We see guys sitting up on stage that are doing 400 deals a year, right? And they're selling, and it's probably like $100 million worth of volume. The infrastructure necessary to do that, the staff and the leverage and the buyer's agents and the seller's agents and the marketing is enormous. We don't have that issue. Okay, you could sell $80 million worth of product here with a single assistant and close 36 to 40 deals a year, right? If your average sale price is $2 million. So
absolutely.
Sorry, Ed.
So no, perfectly said. So in Middle America, the average commission amount is $7,150. Almost everybody here has had a commission check bigger than that this year. That's here you'd have to try hard to get it to be that low. So in Middle America, they have to sell 350 units on average to get that $1 million profit. That's wild, but they do that. And there's people who do that, and they net $1 million when they do it. So it can be done. And in some ways, I can tell you from having come up in a small market, I can tell you in some ways it's easier to get to 100 units in Middle America than it is to get to 20 units a year in LA. So just know that. Anyways, in Middle America, to do those 350 units, you're talking 50% sellers. 100. That means you're going to need 175 seller listings. Seller listings sold. So 175 sold seller listings with a 70% conversion rate. That means you're going to need 250 listings, because not every one of them is going to close, right?
Yeah, that's listings I have, only 70% of them are selling, right?
And then as far as listing
Conversion rate
appointments,
on appointments, yeah, sorry.
and then appointments, you're going to need to go on 333 appointments to achieve that. I mean, just that alone, you can see that it would be pretty possible, but just going on that many appointments would be a tough thing for one person to do.
Not even talking about the activities necessary to get an appointment.
Totally. This same system here would use 50% buyer listings, meaning 175 sold buyers with a 70% conversion rate. That means, oops, hold on.
7 out of 10 people that I engage, I actually close a deal with. So if I wanted that 175, I need 250. And then, getting people to use me at 70% conversion rate, that's 357, just a little bit more on the buyer side because of that 5% difference. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're talking about performance, outcomes, and investments. So performance plus investment equals outcomes. Performance is how well you apply your skills, behavior, ability, and resources to produce revenue. Investment is the time you spend on lead generation and conversion, along with the expenses related to both. And then the result is outcomes are the prize, the results of your performance and investment, your GCI and net income or profit.
This is a new slide. This is a good slide. Go back to everyone. Performance is how well we apply your skills, behavior, ability, resources to produce revenue. All in there, right? Leads, appointments, talent, systems, tools. The investment is the time you spend on lead generation and conversion, along with the with your expense related to both, right? And then the outcomes are that crossover, right? That's the prize for your performance and your investment of time, cost, and operating expenses, right? It's the outcomes. It's the result of your performance and investments in your business, your GCI, your net income, or your profit. This is a great slide. It's a new one.
Okay, so elements of the economic model. Remember, we were saying at the top that and this is typical for around the country, is that typical is that you'd spend 30% on operating expenses, 30% on cost of sales, and would leave you with 40% income, profit in essence. Anyone want to take a crack at what we're talking about? We're talking operating expenses or cost of sales.
What do you mean by take a crack, Ed?
Just want to take a crack at defining what those means. Anyone want to take a shot at it, defining these?
I think cost of sales with salaries. Is that right?
Definitely, that's the biggest part of it. So think of it this way: as operating expenses are the expenses it takes just to operate your business. Like, if you do 0 sales, you're still going to have expenses every month, and those are typically your operating expenses. For most businesses, this is the expenses to keep the lights on, basically, right? So if you take a vacation and you don't do any sales whatsoever for 3 months, you're still going to have your operating expenses. Your cost of sales are the costs for each sale you do, right? And by the way, we had a lively discussion with Charlotte Blake on the morning call about cost of goods sold. That's a specific accounting term. We're not talking about cost of goods sold. You shouldn't have cost of goods sold in your tax filing every year. This is cost of sales. It's a term we're using as business owners. We're talking about what are your typical expenses every time you have a sale. For us, typically it's going to be your office split. In our office, coaching split comes out of here as well, but that's very atypical. Even though it comes out of there, it's really an operating expense. We just structure it differently. Technically, you could consider photography, like for your listings, as being cost of sales, but typically we don't count that either. We usually put that as an operating expense. Cost of sales is typically strictly referring to the split with the office, and then more specifically, when you start having a buyer's agent or a listing agent working underneath you, that's really where it really starts to grab hold.
Yeah.
If you're a single agent, which in most of you guys here, your cost of sales is probably going to be your office split.
Office split, your buyer's agent, your assistant would fall under operating expenses.
Exactly. Yes. Assistants are, yeah, because they're remember, an assistant gets paid whether you're on vacation doing absolutely nothing or not. A buyer's agent only gets paid if they're closing deals, which is, and there's the difference of why they end up in each place. Is that helpful, kind of describing it that way?
Yeah, that's it. Any referral fees that you give out, that's also a cost of sale.
Okay, let's see here. I think, okay, this is where we're at now. All right. One element of the economic, okay, we talked about that. The first formula begins with GCI, the amount of revenue you earn. This is how many businesses think of cash flow. Traditionally, business owners use an economic model to predict how their current habits, skills, and investments will manifest into net income. The second formula keeps the eye on net income of 40%. And this is how we will look at it with the MRA models, because millionaire real estate agents take the approach of beginning with the end in mind, net income. Again, we're going to adjust, and I'll show you, it's pretty easy, but no one here is probably going to have, none of you are probably going to have 30% towards operating expenses or cost of sales, and we'll talk about why. You were asked earlier on page 1.1 to write down what you need to maintain your lifestyle and get out of debt. And on page 2.9, when you thought about your someday 5-year and 1-year goals. This model works for all levels of income. So what is your net income goal? Write it down on the net income line. Divide this number by 40% or 0.4. Write this down on the total GCI. Well, okay. Well, I guess we're doing it this way, aren't we? Okay, let's step back for a second.
I would argue that it's more like 60, 15, 15 for most agents.
Yeah, totally. And we're going to take it back a step further. I'm going to ask you guys to bear with me here a second, because we're going to step back, because we're going to make this right away more in line with LA. Okay. So first, let's figure out what is your total goal? What is your net income goal? Which, remember, back when we had our someday goal, if this is our goal for 2021, this would be your 1-year goal. Where do you want to be at the end, December 31st of 2021? Which should be something like funding your lifestyle, paying your bills, and paying off your debt. And you also may have some incremental gains towards whatever your someday goals are, right? You want to buy a house? Okay, well, how much progress you want to make towards that next year? Are you getting towards the finish? Is that a goal for the end of next year, or you just want to be, part of the way there? We're going to spend a moment here because we need to figure that out. We want to find out, what is your profit goal for next year? Again, this is before taxes, so remember to add in 40% for taxes. But your pre-tax income, for you to achieve your goals for next year, what does that look like?
Pre-tax net income, is that what you're asking for?
Your pre-tax gross income.
Gross income.
Yeah.
Did taxes fall into operating expenses?
What they would call here net income, meaning your business profit. It's your pre-tax your
pre-tax. That's
before taxes. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're calling it your net income because this is after taking out your expenses. And
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so once you do that, let me give you just some like real ballpark numbers. And now, if you know your numbers, great. But if you're like in your first few years of real estate, your cost of sales, you can just put down $32,000, which is the cap for the office. That's probably going to be a pretty accurate number for you. You're probably not going to have a whole lot of other costs of sales beyond that. Now, for some of you guys, you have a buyer's agent, you have whatever. Okay, you guys are different. I'll leave you guys out of it. But for most people on this call, if you put $32,000 there for cost of sales, you're probably just right. Operating expenses is a little depends. It depends on you and your operating expenses, right? For most of you guys, it's going to be something like I would say definitely no more than 50,000 for most of you. Depend. Now, again, you got to remember, in the MREA, they count they count transportation expenses. So your car could, your car payment, your car insurance, your car fuel could be all thought of as a business expense. That could be in here.
Yep.
Your office. So if you have an office at the KW Larchmont office, great. You could have a home office. That's considered part of this. So a portion of your rent or your mortgage could go towards your office.
Yep.
A portion of your utilities, a portion of your internet service at your house could be part of this. Your cell phone could be operating expenses. So don't be surprised when operating expenses starts adding up. But then remember, these are expenses you probably would have had whether you were in real estate or not. So there's an offset there. The good news is it means that you're probably gonna have less tax liability. Yeah,
Right.
You'll be able to deduct this stuff on taxes, which is beautiful. But it does mean that, for your first couple of years of real estate, it's not uncommon for that. According to your accountant, you're pulling in like $20,000, $30,000 a year. You got to remember that's including your car payment and some other things that it could be. So take it all with a grain of salt. So again, this is very variable, but I would say that most of you are probably like between $3,000 and $4,000 a month, somewhere in that ballpark when you're in your first couple of years. The rest of you guys need to figure that out for yourself of kind of where your operating expenses are.
They asked a question in the old manifestation of this in the Career Growth Initiative, and it was, how much money do you need to live your life after taxes, after expenses, after cost of sale? And that's what your accountant tells you. You made last year, right? That's the number that they get to. But I thought it was a great question when they asked it.
So I love that, Joey. So again, hold on. What we want to figure out here is the total GCI you need to make. For those of you guys who I've worked with who are new, you guys know I usually tell you to put, if the goal is to make over 120,000 next year, which I hope it is, I love using 150 as a starting point for anybody who's new, but that's whatever. It's up to you guys to figure that out. Cost of sales, 32,000, probably a great place to start. Operating expenses, you're looking, I would say $36,000 to $48,000, somewhere in that ballpark of operating expenses, if you're including car payment and all that kind of stuff, right? You can run leaner than that. You don't need to, you can do it less than that, but you just got to kind of figure that out. It's a little harder. I mean, you certainly don't want to be at more than 30% for your operating expenses.
Can I do a little spoiler?
Sure.
On it. We're going to go through all this manually, and it's all in command. You could put command will calculate it for you, put all your numbers in, and then it holds you, it will track your production in relationship to these numbers you're putting in. But all of this can be put into command, and it makes it really easy for you. All right. So, but we want to learn how to do it manually because I got to tell you, I put it all in command, but doing it manually gives me a higher understanding of the mathematics of it and what it really means.
Great point. So do all of you there have a place to put down GCI, operating expensive cost of sales, net income? Do you guys have a pretty good place there to do that, right, in your manual?
There should be a little work.
So then the next point is this place here. We got to figure out what is your conversion rates. Here are some benchmarks across the country, and we'll talk about how these relates to California, to LA specifically. Let's start with listings. If you want to, they say that for every listing sold, that you need that 70% of your listings will sell. I will tell you in LA that's probably higher. 85. What do you think, Joey? 85, 80%?
I would say, listen, if your conversion rate on listings sold is 70%, you need to talk to Ed and I more. Okay. because listen, sometimes you take an overpriced listing, sometimes you miss an opportunity, or COVID hits, or there are outside influences on your conversion rate. But in Los Angeles, I would say you have to screw up fairly big. You have to make some bad choices. Maybe no, we're not even say screw up. You have to make some bad choices about the marketing and or pricing of a property to not sell it over time, at least 85% of the time, right? And what that means is for every 10 listings I have, 1.5, let's say 2 of them don't sell. Does that sound about right, Tiffany, Tracy, highly producing agents?
Yeah, sounds right.
Right?
Sounds fair.
Yeah. There you go.
And then listing appointments to listings taken, they're saying 75%. So if you go on 10 listing appointments, you'll end up with 7.5, right? So 7 or 8 times you'll end up with getting the listing. I would be willing to say that in LA, this is we're probably a little bit below, depending on where you're getting your business. But in general, we're probably a bit below that because it's so much more competitive and we have a more sophisticated crowd who's more apt to interview more than one agent in LA. Not a huge difference, but it's definitely a bit of a difference here versus middle America.
Yeah.
I would say it's more like 60%. And if you're new in your first year or two, you may want to put down 50%. That would be my guess.
I agree.
How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, and it's just a matter of honing your conversation, right? Really creating having some mastery in that listing appointment is where the conversion rate comes. And we're in a very competitive market. I think there's some compelling statistics around the number of agents that most people will interview, and the kind of importance of being like the first person that they interview. But there's no replacement for having a relationship with the client prior to them having a need, right? So. Absolutely.
And there are ways to increase your conversion rates, pre-qualifying scripts, having a good solid listing presentation. I mean, yeah. Which, by the way, if you want to increase your income, sure, you can spend more money on leads and you can do a whole bunch of other things, or you can just increase your conversion rate by working on your scripts and stuff. And that's one of the easiest ways to increase your income without really having to do much more work. Okay, but I digress. Okay, now let's talk about buyer side. They're saying that for every buyer listing taken, so when they say buyer listings taken, they're referring to having a signed BRE, a buyer who is committed to working with you. Some of you guys don't even use BREs, and I'm not here to tell you right or wrong. There's a lot of variety in our office and just among agents in general. But they're saying from buyer listings taken, people who have signed BREs, 70% of them sold. Ooh, now this one's hard because first, but by the way, on all of these conversion rates, we're giving you benchmarks here, but I will say the best is for you to know what your conversion rates are. That's part of that homework that you had coming into today, because that's the best way of doing these things, is knowing what are your conversion rates. And sure, you want to improve and all that, but it's much better to know this is what I need to convert my numbers. Because by the way, some of these conversion rates just depend on how you do business. If you like to do door knocking a lot and you cast a really wide net with internet leads, you're probably going to convert a very small number of buyer appointments. If you're far more referral based, your buyer conversion rate is going to be much, much, much higher. So some of it depends on how you do business. But again, they're saying for every BRE that's signed, 70% of them convert. I'll say that's probably pretty accurate because we have so many people. It's so hard to find inventory that even when you find people who are qualified and ready to pull the trigger, a lot of them just don't find the house they like and just get burnt out, it's easier for them to get frustrated and not end up buying something, I would say.
Here's my little twist on that. I would say if we're working on the matrix of these are people who have signed buyer broker agreements, you're talking about an elevated class of buyer who is committed to the process and committed to you, the agent, and that they have a higher chance of converting than someone who's floating out there aimlessly, right? Or unwilling to commit.
So true. And this last one here, buyer appointments to people signing a BRE, that's going to probably have a lot of variety depending on where what lead source you're dealing with. When I was on the East Coast, I was doing a lot of referral business. My conversion rate was like 90%, like some crazy high number. And then when I moved here, I was working with when I first moved here, I was working with a lot of internet leads and I was converting less than 50%, somewhere in that. So I don't know. I still think 70% of buyer appointments converting to BREs is high in this market. I would use more like 50 or 60%.
Yeah, if you don't have historical numbers, then use Ed's idea.
Okay, cool. So now we're going to do a little bit of math and figure out how many appointments you need to get to where you want to be next year. Okay, so figure out, remember we had our net income. This is our pre-tax income. You guys should have hopefully you guys have a page that looks like this in your book, right? Yeah? Okay, well, I'm assuming yes. So I would take there you go. Figure out what that net income is, your pre-tax income, what do you want that to be? Operating expenses, we're talking earlier. If you're new, I would put 36,000 in there, something like that. Maybe even less than that. What do you think, Joey? For people who are in their first year, 24 maybe?
For what, Ed?
For operating expenses?
Operating expenses, $1,000, $2,000 a month. If you're including car and licenses and the
cell phone,
$24,000, that's still a little high, but
yeah, maybe less than that.
Yeah, but sure.
So maybe 18,000 a year, like $1,500, even that. Oh.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, you
get some pad in it.
Yeah. Say 18,000 if you're in your first year. Everyone else, hopefully you'll use your numbers, but there you go. Cost of sales. If your net income goal is like 120,000 or 100,000 somewhere there, then use 32,000. If your goal is somewhere lower, like 60,000, then don't use 32,000 because you're not going to cap. Then use if it's less than that, I would use 30%, right, of that number of whatever. So if you're
sure, I would use somewhere in the 1750 range is what I would use.
So hopefully that gives you a good estimate of GCI. That will be a lot more accurate than if you use this 30, 30, 40 model.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're producing, if you're not just starting out, I would say use your historical information if you need it, if you have it, and if you don't have it and you're making assumptions, I say the assumption is 60, 15, 15, right?
I'm just going to leave their numbers out of here altogether. They're not helpful. No. Average commission out. So the average sale price in our office is 1.1 million. If you're new, you're probably going to be a bit below that, right? You're probably not, your average is probably going to be a bit lower coming out of the gate. So if you're in your first year of real estate, you're probably looking at like a 900,000 average dollar point. Multiply that maybe 2.25, because you'll probably have to end up giving a little bit here and there to compete.
So for a 1.1 average sale price, your average commission would be 27,500.
I would say if you're in your first year and a half, I would use more like a $20,000 average commission amount, because you're going to be a bit lower.
Yeah, absolutely. Based on 800,000, let's say base it on 800,000 or 750, Ed.
I just somewhere like that. Yeah, I just
guess. So 750 would be $18,750 as your average commission rate. And why that's important is you're gonna divide that into your total GCI to figure out the total number of units that you need to leave in there. do you need to sell?
So hopefully everybody's got the top part of this all done now. You know what your net income, you got something for operating expenses and cost of sale. You know what your GCI is for 2021. Based on that, and you take a guess at your average commission amount, you should know how many units you need to sell. And for most of you guys, let me see, I'm taking a guess.
Do we have
here.
a volunteer to walk us through their numbers for that first section?
Anybody? Any volunteers to take us through the top part, your net income through your total units sold?
It's Tim. I'll do it.
Okay, Tim.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going going for 120,000 net revenue. So my GCI, I have it around 170,000, and because I'm on a team, you know, I'm going to be splitting commissions basically. So in order to net the 120,000, I calculate I would need 14 sales at our average property price of 1.2 million.
And that's with the
With the split, I've taken into account the
Yeah.
split. Yeah.
That's some beautiful math work right there.
Great, Jim.
Everybody else following? So now, as far as splitting between buyer side and sell side, so if you're new, I love Joey's calculation. You're probably going to be 70% or even more on the buyer side. As you're around longer, you'll get more towards 50-50. And then when you're really at the top of your game, you'll even start to move 60%, even 70% listing side. It is possible to get to that place. Again, just figure out where you are in that. If you've been around for a couple of years, you're probably going to be about 50-50. If you're in your first year and a half, I would say 70% buyers. And then I wouldn't use more sellers than buyers unless you know your business and you're there, because the people who achieve those numbers are typically the kind of people who know their numbers and they know what their percentages are. So I wouldn't go more sellers than buyers unless you know your business and you know that's where you're at.
Agreed. Ed, you want to put that share screen up again?
Yep.
So you see where we're getting at, guys? We're starting to build an understanding what I want to achieve, what net income I want to achieve, the cost of that, and the total I need to achieve to get that net income. Then let's figure out how many units that will take. You know, I need to sell this many units at this price to achieve that gross commission and that net income. Then we're going to go a little deeper on each side, and we're going to look at buyer and seller. This is important because we need a plan for each of these, right? These are certain conversations, there's certain interactions, there's certain ways of a certain amount of time it takes and effort and cost. So we need to, now we're singling them out and we're kind of understanding, all right, how many sellers do I need? How many listings do I need to go on? And how many appointments do I need to go on to achieve that amount of listings? And then we're going to get to what activities do I need to do to actually get that one appointment, right? This is the breaking down of the minutia of your business. It's important to understand all of these elements at a granular level so that you can create the right activities to achieve it, right?
Give me 1 second here.
That's good. I mean, for an art school student, you know, with a bachelor's, this is like very compelling to me. You know what I mean? This makes sense to me. It's logical. It's it's logical, and it's comforting, right? It's comforting to know that this is the way. This is what I need to do when I wake up every day to achieve the goal that I would like to by the end of the year.
I'm putting some numbers in here just because I can't help
Have
it.
fun.
All right, so for someone who's had, all right, 18 times. And again, as we're going through here, you want to always round up. So say, for example, somebody who needed to do 18 units from their calculations up top, if 70% is coming from the buyer side, that equals 12.6. But we always want to be rounding up. So 12.6, I'm going to round that up to 13 buyer listings sold, right? To do 18 total units, someone who's new, who's doing 70% buyers, need to do 13 of them coming from the buyers. And that would mean 5 coming in from the seller side. 13 buyers sold by the end of the year and 5 sellers sold by the end of the year. If the conversion rate, excuse me, for buyers, what do you want to say for buyers listings? Oh, we said that was about right. So 70% conversion rate. So I take my 13 divided by 0.7, 18.57, but I'm going to call that 19 because we're always rounding up. So if I want to do 13 buyer listings, converting at 70%, that means I'm going to need 19 signed BREs. And if I'm going to do that, they're saying a 70% conversion rate. I'm going to say in LA that might be a bit high. I'm going to say I'll be optimistic and say 60%. So I'm going to take my 19 divided by 0.6 equals 31.6, but I'm going to call that 32. If I'm an agent and these are my conversion rates that I'm using, 60% buyer appointments, converting them to assigned BRE. And from those people who have assigned BRE, 70% of them end up selling, actually end up buying and going all the way to the finish line. That means that I'm going to need 32 buyer appointments throughout all of next year, right?
Divided by 12, you basically need 3 buyers appointments per month.
There you go. And when in doubt, if you have a fraction, I would always front load the front part of the year versus the last part of the year for many reasons.
Absolutely.
First of all, because it's always great to be running ahead of schedule and being able to back off, but also because in real estate, the last quarter is always we can still get a lot closed, but it's the hardest to develop a new buyer commitment or a new seller commitment in Q4.
Well, here we are. You better be establishing some relationships with buyers right now, because if you want a paycheck from a buyer, if you want that in January, you better be working with them right now. Either getting their loans together, showing them properties, or, adjusting them to be ready to close a deal in January. You have to start that in December, right?
Now well said, Joey. On the sales side, remember we had 13 buyers closing. So if I want to do 18 total, that means I'm going to need 5 listings. Those listings, we're saying that our conversion rate here in LA is typically about 80%. Hey, once again, if you know your own numbers, all the better that you use your numbers. Don't use the benchmarks if you know your numbers. But if you don't have numbers, you can go ahead and use these benchmarks we're giving you here. If we're saying we're converting 80%, I take my 5 total divided by 80%, which is 0.8. That means I need 5.8. So I'm going to round up and say 6. I'm going to need 6 listings. And that means I'm going to close one of them to the finish line. One of my listings is not, I'm saying I'm going to have 6 listings next year and one of them isn't going to sell. And now I'm saying that we're saying the conversion rate from a listing appointment to getting the listing, they're saying 70%. I'm saying in LA, it's probably a bit optimistic. What do you guys think? 50% or 60%?
Give it 60 just for.
I'll say 60%.
If you want to make the math easy, you can do 50.
So I'll say 6 divided by 0.6. That means I need 10 listing appointments. And hopefully you're following along with your numbers, because you probably have completely different numbers for you. You may have decided that your total units sold was a different number, and some of your conversion rates may be different based on what you know about your business. That's exactly how it should be. You should have your business plan, we're not all creating a generic business plan that one size fits all. You have your goals for your business, and so your numbers should look different. for this person here, you can see they need 10. Whoa. 10 listing appointments and 32 buyer appointments, meaning 42 total appointments per year.
The way they break that out even is you divide it by the, divide it by 12, right? If you have, how many, so you need 10, it's basically one listing appointment a month, and which is kind of easy, right?
Yeah.
And on the other side, it's 3 listing appointment, 3 buyer appointments per month.
So hopefully already, this is, let me take this off of sharing here.
That was great, Ed.
How's everybody following along? How's this all seem to you guys? Did you follow along? Does everybody have their number for how many appointments they want to get per month, per year for 2021, and what flavor, whether it's listing appointments or buyer appointments? Some of your income is going to come from leases, probably in LA. Whenever I was doing this on the East Coast, I would always just consider that gravy money. And hey, if I got a lease or a referral, that's extra money for vacations and just, fun stuff. But it all comes out in the wash. Again, details that we don't need to worry about every single detail about this. But overall, you should have a fairly solid idea of how many appointments you're looking to pick up next year. Is anybody not there is anybody not fell off somewhere along the way? Is anybody missing that?
No.
No, I got it from your spreadsheet.
Wonderful. Is there anything anybody wants to anybody want to share, like what their numbers look like and how they did? And 'cause I would love for somebody to walk through kind of their numbers. Tim was gracious enough to share his the top part, but the bottom part of how it all breaks down and how many appointments you need. Anybody want to go through that?
Caring is caring, guys.
Oh, yeah, this is Vened. So for mine, for doing 100 grand net income at 70% on the buy side and 30% on the sell side, saying I would need 11 buyer appointments and 4 seller appointments needed.
There you go.
Sounds about right. Yeah, Tim's is off because Tim's on a team and he shares half of his commission with his team icon. So he has to do double that to achieve that same result.
Any other notes here so far? Was everyone able to follow this? I think this was all in the short workbook too, right? By the way, it may be in the short workbook towards the back. Hold on a second here.
Sheets.
I think I noticed that here. Hold on a second here.
Yeah, while you're looking for that, I'll read: avoid economic model traps. Not understanding the power of the economic model and using it in 2 ways: to check where you are and as a planning tool, which I think is really, really important. Not using the economic model as a guide to decision-making, absolute mistake. Not looking at your business as a whole, big mistake. As painful as it is sometimes. Not knowing or improving your conversion rates. If you know what your conversion rates are, then you can focus on changing that. You could focus on adapting that. You could focus on being better in your listing appointment, in your buyer's presentation. It's very, very important. Not holding yourself to your goals is a fast track to not achieving them. Not knowing how much lead generation is required to secure the appointments needed. When you take away the mystery, it's much, fear lies in the not knowing. Okay, if you want to stay in fear, then you can hide in the shadows from these numbers, right? But once you know, it will empower you, right? Not using the economic model to create the other MREA models, great. As Christina so aptly put it, we're past 1 o'clock, but we want to just finish off this this piece, which Ed,
I'm aware of that, Joey. I just didn't want to break us in the middle of economic model.
I agree. No,
We're just going to wrap that up and we'll finish here for the day. But yeah, and a couple other things just from having worked with so many people in coaching, I will tell you, and I remember, because it wasn't that long ago, I remember having goals and just being like, oh my God, I know where I want to go. What my actual results are right now on a week-to-week basis does not match what I'd like my goal to be, even close. So it can feel really intimidating. And all I'll say is like, hey, we'll get you there, right? So, yeah, your goal may be, I need to do like the one I just filled out here on that sheet said 4 appointments a month. Is that what I said? Give me 1 second here. Yep. Yeah, 4 appointments a month, right? And you may be like, oh my God, I'm brand new and I'm not, I've been in business for 6 months. I'm not getting 4 appointments a month yet. All right, we'll get you there. We'll get you there. It just, we want to know where your goal is and we'll work your way there, right? So don't let it intimidate you. You don't want a business plan that feels like a ball and chain around your neck that's weighing you down. So I heard this great quote. This isn't in any, somebody who taught a business planning clinic I was in a long time ago at KW early on. She had this great thing that has stuck with me. That is like, whenever you set a goal, she gave us this advice, and this was her. This isn't like a KW thing, but she says when I create a goal, I like to think to myself, I want to create a goal that if I'm focused, I think I have about a 50-50 shot of getting that goal, right? It shouldn't be like, a lottery ticket, like, hey, my goal is to do 20 billion in sales next year. It shouldn't be like a walk in the park either, where like, yeah, I'm just going to do what I did this year. If I just show up half the time and do it, like, I'll probably crush it. No big deal. It should be like a stretch. It should stretch you, but not so far that it starts to feel like, because if it's so far out of whack with reality, you're going to get through March or April or May and just stop even looking at your business plan, because the reality and the business plan will go so far divergent that you don't even want to look at it anymore. So I hope that helped. Maybe that hopefully will help guide you in kind of like what kind of numbers you want to set for a goal. But has everybody walked away with an economic model?
And
all right, if so, then we're on track. We're doing well.
Yes.
All right, good. So then we'll wrap it up there, you guys, and we'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. and we'll keep going from there. And any ahas from today? We'll just end with this last note. Any ahas from today?
We need to raise our sales, the list price point, because these numbers for what Tracy and I would like to make this year are high.
Yeah.
High.
You can raise your price, or you can raise the amount of deals you're doing, right? So there's
Let's raise the price point.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do all that much more work.
No, I like the amount of work I'm doing.
Let's not think that.
Let's work smarter, not harder.
I like that. Smarter, not harder. That's great.
Yes. Yes.
Like it.
Agreed.
All right.
Yeah. Any other ahas?
All right, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks,
See you,
Tim. Any other ahas?
Tim said, aha, I gotta go.
Apparently.
Aha, it's 1:15.
Thank you.
This was great. Thank you.
You guys have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Forward to tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Lead generation model is next.
Yes, boss.
Thank you, guys.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.